Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Duke It Out Wrestling Podcast, where I, Duke, talk about events from the past, present, or future in the world of professional wrestling. Now, if you watched my prediction podcast for All Out, same shirt. It's this. I'm just filming this right after I did that podcast because I've minimal time to film on this set because above me a bathroom is getting redone, so most of the time during the day now there's just a bunch of drills and shit going on, so I get very minimal time to record around here. So that's why I have a bedhead and a Troy and Abed in the morning t-shirt instead of my typical wrestling shirt attire. But this podcast is very similar to the previous podcast I just made because the day before All Out, WWE has a pay-per-view / premium live event of their own in Payback. Now, this seems like a pretty fun show. The card is a lot smaller than All Out, obviously, but all the matches seem pretty stacked, and quite a few of them have been building up for quite a while. So, I will go through all 6 matches on the card and go through who I think is going to win or who I want to win. And we'll see after Saturday night if I get all these predictions correct or if I fuck up royally in every single category. But the first match that I'll get into is LA Knight versus The Miz. Now, the build up to this match, promo wise, has been absolutely fantastic. Their first back and forth promo against each other was hilarious and also very enticing. A lot like when Miz called LA Knight an Attitude Era fanboy wearing cosplay. It really hit, and then it got the feud a lot more personal. It got people a lot more intrigued, and the work that LA Knight's been delivering back has also been just as good. Especially after the tribute promo he had for Bray Wyatt on SmackDown, mixing it into the feud with the Miz, and anything he said there really did felt like it legit could hurt the Miz's reputation, bringing up how Mizdow was more over than him, to then Miz coming out on Raw dressed up as LA Knight like he did with The Rock in 2011. And his LA Knight impression was hilarious. Him looking at the camera going, "What? I mean, yeah. I mean, what? I mean, yeah," was legitimately hilarious, and I laughed my ass off during that. Yeah, promo wise, this buildup has been terrific, and I'm sure the match will be really good. I'm not exactly sure what exactly they're gonna bring to the table here. I'm actually legitimately excited, because they both have really solid ring work, but I do wonder how that ring work is going to clash, but especially taunting wise, this match is going to be extremely entertaining, and um I do think this feud could extend a bit, so I'm wondering if Miz is going to get a sneaky win first. And I do slightly think that, but I am gonna go for LA Knight, especially for the fact that if this feud doesn't continue, if they don't have any more premium live event matches after this, they should have the winner of this feud be LA Knight. So I think LA Knight will walk out the winner. But I could see Miz getting a sneaky roll up, or maybe a Maurice interference, perhaps. We'll see. And the next match I'll talk about, which is the second to last non-world title match of the card, it is finally what seems to be the conclusion of Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus in a steel cage match. Now, a lot of people were thinking this feud was going to end at SummerSlam, myself included, and it seemed like it got cut from the card and it got extended. They teased another match in Canada, and then recently Becky Lynch had a really good Falls Count Anywhere match with Zoe Stark to build this up as well. And with the steel cage stipulation, I'm not exactly sure what they can really do with this. I get why they made the stipulation itself, just so it could save Zoe Stark from interfering, and that makes a lot of sense. But I do wonder what they could really bring to the table with this stipulation. And I don't think a lot of people were imagining the feud with Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus ending in a cage match, but I don't see this feud continuing because it already has gone on a bit longer than I would have expected as well. So it seems like this more likely is the end of their feud, and Trish Stratus did get the win on Becky at Night of Champions. So I think Becky kind of has to get her win back here. And not really has to, but like, come on. Like, of course that's what they're going to do. But since it would technically be one win each, I think maybe they will do a third match. Maybe save it for the Royal Rumble or Survivor Series or Mania. We'll see. But I do think that Becky Lynch is going to be the winner of the steel cage match. And the first championship match that I'll get into is Rey Mysterio versus Austin Theory for the United States Championship. Now, when Rey Mysterio ended the reign of Austin Theory with the United States title, it was pretty shocking just because it's been clear that they've been wanting to build Austin Theory as the next big star, but the match with Cena didn't seem to work. It seemed to be that he was getting buried a little bit storyline wise, and then when he lost to Rey Mysterio, it kind of just confirmed that theory for a lot of fans, just because, oh shit, not only didn't, like, if it could have made sense if he lost to another newer talent, but he lost to a literal Hall of Famer. So it did seem a little off, but also at the same time, this does give a little bit of transitional champion vibes for Rey Mysterio, yes, he is Rey Mysterio, but he doesn't need the United States title. So I do think Austin Theory is going to get the title back, and will probably lose it in a couple months again to hopefully someone different. But I just don't see Rey Mysterio lasting as U.S. champion much longer. So I am going to go with Austin Theory. Next championship match that I'll get into is, like I mentioned with Becky and Trish, a match that we thought we were going to get at SummerSlam, but got cut, but we're getting it at Payback. It is Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez for the WWE Women's World Championship. If you don't remember, I think it was a last women's standing match that I think Rhea and Raquel had on NXT. It is a really, really great match, and I think it might have been Rhea's last match on NXT before going to the main roster, if I'm not mistaken. So, I could see this match being one that really sneaks up on you on how good it is. And especially with the fact that Rhea Ripley has been getting a lot of shorter matches through this reign and a bit of squashes, which is fair because Rhea Ripley's got to look as dominant as possible. But I think it's time that we get more women on the roster that can be booked like they can beat Rhea Ripley. Because right now the list is very small. And they're building up Raquel very well. And while it's not really seeming like many fans think she is going to beat Rhea Ripley at Payback, she's definitely the most believable over the past couple of months. And because I feel like regardless of who she faces, it's going to more so just build up to Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch, because that's obviously the big money match. But I could see like maybe maybe Raquel getting a win by DQ or something like that. Maybe a judgment, maybe a Dominic interference causes Raquel to win, but only by DQ, so she doesn't get the title. That could be a thing, but I'm still going to go toward Rhea Ripley just full-blown retaining the title. And with the two matches left, the second to last match I'll get into is a Steel City Street Fight for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Judgment Day's Finn Balor and Damian Priest. Now, they've been building up this match really well on the Judgment Day side, because for a minute we weren't really sure if Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were fully injured or if they would be able to come back in a couple weeks. And obviously with this match, they are cleared to compete again. And this should be a fantastic match, just because of the fact that, yeah, it's a street fight, and Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, and Damian Priest, that just equals gold. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. And they built this up really well with Judgment Day's side on the tension between Finn Balor and Damian Priest after the match at SummerSlam and the match at Money in the Bank that Finn had with Seth Rollins. And now bringing JD McDonough into the mix to try and build more tension between Damian Priest and Finn Balor, to see if maybe JD McDonough could replace Damian Priest in the Judgment Day. And then I think it was this past week on Raw where Rhea Ripley said to Finn Balor and Damian Priest that if the Judgment Day doesn't all walk out with gold at the end of Payback, then there's going to be some changes. And that's very, very interesting because it could lead to either them taking out Finn Balor because Damian Priest still has Money in the Bank briefcase, and Damian Priest is technically the OG member of Judgment Day compared to everybody else in that group. And or they could have them win. And that's what I was really skeptical about, because I could see it, because Judgment Day are clearly being booked to take over Raw. And if they weren't going to give Finn Balor the World Heavyweight title over Seth Rollins, then next thing that would make sense would be the tag team titles. So I can see it, but it's also the fact that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are still incredibly over. Their tag team title win at WrestleMania was so amazing, and that awesome match with the Usos. But since that match, they haven't really been able to have anything they can really sink their teeth into. They've had some really good TV matches for the title. The one with the Street Profits mainly stands out in my head right now. But yeah, it's just seemed like a reign that was mainly just built on that one feud with the Bloodline, and now they don't know what to do with it now. So with all that happening, I could see Sami and KO losing the tag team titles to Judgment Day, so it can build up a faction that has been built up in the main event for a while. People like Finn Balor and Damian Priest aren't like people you would lose to and be buried by, even though they've been having Finn Balor lose almost every match he's had this year. But yeah, this one's a very unpredictable one, because regardless, I think this is going to be a very fun street fight tag team match. And I do wonder if JD McDonough could cause the win for Judgment Day, or could lead to Judgment Day actually winning. And while I do slightly think they're going to do more with Sami and KO with the tag team titles, I am going to go for the Judgment Day, especially for the fact that Finn Balor has lost both of his world title matches, and the Judgment Day need to all hold gold. It just makes fucking sense. And now we will get to the main event, which is by far my most anticipated match for this event. Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. The build-up for this match has been shockingly brilliant. Seth Rollins has really built up well the fear that he had of what Shinsuke had whispered in his ear, and the video packages that they've been doing for Shinsuke Nakamura have been incredible. Not only for the fact that they're just letting him be able to speak Japanese and let these video packages have subtitles, it brings so much more intimidation. It oozes more of the charisma that Shinsuke Nakamura has. And a lot of people have been saying this is Shinsuke's anime villain arc, and I love it. With the video package editing, it definitely just seems like an anime villain, and it's really, really cool. And and Shinsuke Nakamura has been really diving deep into this heel role, and it's a way better heel character than the heel character that he had in 2018, where he just really liked hitting nuts. So I'm glad about that. And Seth Rollins and Shinsuke Nakamura have had quite a few matches on pay-per-view. I think they had one at Fastlane. They had a champion versus champion match at Survivor Series. They've all been good matches. None of them have really been standouts. But I think with the build-up that they have here, with Shinsuke Nakamura mentioning that Seth Rollins' back is broken and that his body's breaking on him and all this, it could lead to something that... Could we see Shinsuke Nakamura winning the World Heavyweight Championship in WWE finally? Probably not. But they've been doing a really good job building this up and making Shinsuke Nakamura look like a dominant force that could hopefully lead to much better things over the next 6 months for him, because he needs a phenomenal storyline, at least one phenomenal feud in WWE, or at least on the main roster, before he eventually retires, or leaves to go to go back to Japan. Who the hell knows? But I really do want Shinsuke Nakamura to win here. My heart is saying Shinsuke Nakamura, but my brain is saying Seth Rollins. I'm sure it's going to be a phenomenal match, and we're going to get some near falls that could make us super convinced that Shinsuke is about to win the title. But I think there's more to do with Seth Rollins as champion. And because I felt, especially with SummerSlam, if they weren't going to give the win to Balor there, they're probably going to keep Seth as champion until Survivor Series and a little bit beyond that. But I honestly would hope there's a rematch. I would like to see this feud continue with Seth and Shinsuke, because they could do a lot more really cool things with it, or maybe a triple threat or fatal four way, adding some other stars from Raw into it. It would be a really, really cool thing. But those are my predictions for WWE Payback 2023 and this episode of the Duke It Out Wrestling Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and please make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and duke out your opinions below in the comments.